Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam Kaggod here, taking up the Hindu News analysis for 7th July 2026. Now, before I start, do let me know that I'm audible and visible for everyone. Am I audible and visible for everyone? Please give the confirmation. Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start the discussion. I'll be covering a total of 13 articles, and there is one article that will be a homework for you. We'll look at it later, don't worry. These particular articles have been taken from mainly the daily edition of Hindu newspaper, covering the important aspects for the prelims as well as mains examination. If you're liking the initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. If you're yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Let me begin the session. Before that, those who are preparing for the civil services exams 2027 and 2028, the Unacademy IAS courses are right now available at 17,999. Once you enroll, you will get access to the live sessions as well as the recorded class lectures, prelims, mains test series, mentorship services, current affairs program by the name of Unacademy's Current Affairs Navigator, amongst many other things. Those interested in enrolling, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description. And whatever is the price mentioned in the website, use the code IAS English to get the discounted price. Let's start. First, very important article: will El Nino weaken India's economy? In the last couple of weeks, there has been a lot of discussion regarding the likely impact of El Nino on India. There has been a discussion regarding the deficit rainfall or the shortage of rainfall, which was 40% in the month of June, and for the month of July, the Indian Meteorological Department has stated that it will be below normal. In that particular situation, now there is a discussion regarding what is the likely impact of shortage of rainfall on India's economy. There are two articles, one in the text and context page, and the second one, right, a normal article in the other page. Let me club the discussion and have a detailed discussion. The poor monsoon in India can have a damaging impact on Indian economy. What are the very important areas that you need to focus? First one, India's agriculture sector. India produces a lot of agriculture commodities, horticulture products, as well as other agriculture products. India is one of the major supplier of many of these agriculture commodities in the international market as well. Now, the problem in case of India is that a large chunk of agriculture field is basically dependent on monsoon for irrigation purposes. It is dependent on monsoon for irrigation purposes, and very small percentage of the total land in India actually follows the concept of micro irrigation. That is, according to various estimates, hardly around 10% of the cultivable area that is used for cultivation purposes has micro irrigation. For example, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, etc. A large chunk of land basically depends on flood irrigation and is dependent mainly on monsoon for cultivation purposes. So when the monsoon, that is the rainfall, will be lower, it will directly have an impact on the output in agriculture sector. It will also reduce the contribution of agriculture sector to India's GDP as well as GVA. GVA basically stands for gross value addition. Very often you will come across this number. India's agriculture sector accounts for around 46% to 47% of the total workforce in India. A large number of households derive their daily livelihood or daily incomes in the form of agriculture income. And not just this, it contributes around around fifth of gross value addition and around 17 to 18% to the gross domestic product. So if the rainfall is lower, it will have a direct bearing on all of these particular important economic outcomes. And as a result of this, basically the idea is people earn money, correct? You and me, farmers, etc. We earn money. And what do we do with the money that we have earned? We will use this money to purchase goods and services. And this particular demand for the goods and services will contribute to higher production. And higher production will generally lead to higher employment, higher investment, higher contribution to the GDP, etc. So when a large chunk of households which are dependent on agriculture source of income, their incomes will go down, automatically it will have an impact on other sectors as well. The demand for FMCG products, fast moving consumer goods, demand for that might go down. The demand for two wheelers might go down, and the demand for the tractors as well might go down. All these are the important outcomes of shortage in terms of rainfall because of El Nino. In addition to this, if the production is lower, if the production is lower, automatically there will be a mismatch between supply and demand. Everybody is okay? There will be a mismatch between supply as well as demand. And when there is a mismatch between supply and demand, that is, a disruption will be caused in terms of production and supply. This is expected to contribute to food inflation. It will contribute to the food inflation, and this will make it very difficult for the common man to basically afford and pay for these kind of commodities. According to one estimate, it has been shown that the harvesting, or basically before harvesting, sowing, the sowing of many of these particular crops will be disrupted. A lot of farmers may not even focus on sowing vegetables. As a result of this, the production of these in the market and the supply of these in the market are expected to go down, contributing to inflationary trends. This is another very important outcome. In addition to all of this, what is expected to happen is, let's say, the production of pulses will go down. The demand for the pulses always is there. The production of many other agriculture commodities will go down. As a result of this, now the government of India will be forced to import these particular commodities from the international market. As such, there is already a concern that we import high value agriculture commodities from external market. India exports cereals. India imports high value agriculture commodities such as oil, that is edible oil, pulses, etc. That is the precise reason the Prime Minister of India very often keeps on talking about all these important issues, makes an appeal to the countrymen to reduce the consumption of edible oil, to promote self-reliance in the production of pulses, etc. So if the cultivation is going to be affected, imports are going to rise up. And when imports will increase, it will contribute to the trade deficit, to the current account deficit, also contribute to the rupee depreciation, will add to the pressure on Indian rupee in the forex market. Is the impact over? Not yet. There are a couple of more impacts. For example, one, India accounts for, like I told you earlier, huge chunk of agriculture exports. There was a point of time when we were import dependent. We used to basically purchase food grains from others in the market, even for taking care of the food needs of the households. Today, we export a lot of the agriculture commodities, and India's exports account for 12% of the total, that is, agriculture exports account for 12% of the total core exports. And not just this, the exports from India, agriculture commodity exports, have grown at a point or at a rate more than 8% for 5 years from 2020 to 2025. And in addition to this, one more important impact is, if monsoon is low, that is rainfall is low, it will have a direct impact on energy that is produced in India. We produce a lot of energy in the form of wind energy, solar energy, hydro energy. The impact of lower monsoon will be felt on all of these particular areas of electricity or power production. As a result of this, on one side, production of electricity will be under pressure, it will become low. And on the other side, because we are not receiving sufficient rainfall, the weather is not cooling up like it generally cools up during the monsoon season, etc., the demand for the usage of ACs is going to increase. And when we operate more and more ACs, demand for electricity will also start to increase. So demand for energy on one side increases, but the production on one side is decreasing. This is expected to create a bigger burden in terms of electricity or energy production gap in India. So these are the various important economic impacts that we are going to feel if we do not receive sufficient amount of the rainfall. So what is the way forward? What are the recommendations that have been provided in the article? In addition to this, I'll merge one more article from Indian Express to give you a comprehensive understanding. The argument of the writer here is, this is not uncommon in India. This idea that El Nino having an impact on lower rainfall in India, leading to drought-like situation in India, has happened in the past as well. It has happened in the past. It is nothing new. It has happened multiple times in the last 2 decades itself. The problem has been that we have not been focusing more on the reforms that will prevent the problem from arising. What do I mean by this? You know, if there is a monsoon deficit, you are going to face a problem. Then why are we not investing sufficient money in the research and development and cultivating or producing drought resistant crops? If more and more drought resistant crops are there, why is it not accessible to the farmers? Why are we not promoting more and more, I repeat, more and more other initiatives? For example, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Why are we not ensuring the farmers will abide by these kind of, let's say, measures in order to reduce the dependence on monsoon rainfall? Why are we not investing more money for rainwater harvesting, so that whenever we receive sufficient amount of rainfall, for example, last 2 years, why are we not harvesting more and more of this rainwater? So argument is, it is generally treated as a reactive measure. We realize it and we start basically preparing for the outcome once the problem happens. So the reforms have to be proactive rather than being reactive. In simple terms, we need to basically insulate Indian economy from the impact of El Nino that can happen only with better reforms as well as better implementation of existing reforms. So these are some of the recommendations that have been provided from the article. Now, let me add one more article from Indian Express here. Everybody is okay with the discussion so far? Please do let me know. Everybody is okay with the discussion so far. Now, I've taken one more article from yesterday's Indian Express. This article has given very nice information regarding how can we insulate India's agriculture from the vagaries of monsoon rainfall. That is the volatility in terms of rainfall. This is a headline in yesterday's Indian Express. It recommended that we should promote more and more cultivation through the concept of direct seeded rice. Anushka Singh is saying dried seeded rice. It is direct seeded rice. Short form DSR. And before I tell you what is there in this particular article, which was in fact very big article, one more recommendation from my side. I keep on receiving lot of mails from students in classroom, outside the classroom as well, asking me, sir, should we make notes? My suggestion, advice, I know I'll give you advice. It is entirely up to you whether you want to listen to the advice or not. I'm like a committee that has been set up by Government of India. Ultimate authority whether to accept the recommendation or not is with the Government of India. So just like committee giving a recommendation to the government, I'm giving you one recommendation. Please make notes. Make your own notes, especially short notes that will help you in effective revision come January 2027, February 2027, etc. For example, this is the length of the article on direct seeded rice, DSR. What I have done is I have read this particular article and I've made notes in 4 or 5 points. What are the most relevant points that you need to take away from the article? And this you can quote as a case study in order to prove that even though there is a shorter rainfall or there is a deficit rainfall, can we overcome the problems? Can we insulate India's agriculture from these kind of issues, etc.? For example, the recommendation here is, let's promote another kind of a, right, let's say usage of technology in agriculture, where we are going to cultivate rice using direct seeded rice, DSR. What is the basic idea for DSR? Simple. In a traditional sense, there is a cultivation of rice which is conducted through a process such as puddling as well as transplantation. The seedlings are grown in, right, let's say a particular place, that is basically in certain places, that is nurseries. From there, we move these particular seedlings, and you must have seen the people who will take the seedlings like this and they'll keep on seeding them. They'll keep on planting them in a field which is flooded with water. The problem with the traditional methodology is the consumption of water is very, very high. And second problem is your dependence on the human labor is also very, very high. Is there a solution for this? There is a DSR. The DSR basically is a type of, let's say, seed grain variety where you directly sow them. You don't have to flood the, right, let's say the field like in a traditional sense. And the flooding is done. A lot of you may not know this. It was given in the article, by the way. Why the fields are flooded when you cultivate paddy? The reason behind flooding is to ensure that the herbs which are present on that particular soil will not be getting air, will not be able to grow. So that is the precise reason the scientists basically say the farmers flood the field. So in this particular case, under the DSR, we are going to use the herbicide. We are going to directly seed the rice onto the soil itself. So requirement of irrigation, very less. Usage of herbicide in order to ensure herbs are not going to grow and disrupt the cultivation, that is also ensured. This is basically one kind of a case study that you can mention in order to overcome the impact of the lower rainfall, that is lower monsoon, on India's agriculture. Everybody is okay with the discussion? Now, based on this, please take up a question for mains answer writing practice. India's dependence on the monsoon continues to be posing macroeconomic risk despite structural transformation of Indian economy. Discuss 15 marker question, 250 words. Same question in a different way. Indian economy continues to dance to the tunes of monsoon despite structural transformation. Discuss 15 marks, 250 words. Please practice mains answer writing. Let me move on to the next article. E-Rickshaw battery hacks and Bluetooth BMS vulnerability. Very recently, certain reels in the YouTube have gone viral, where certain people have followed e-rickshaws, electronic rickshaws, have used an app to basically pause or stop the movement or the mobility of e-rickshaws. The government of India took the cognizance. The Minister of Electronics issued an directive, issued an order for the company Google as well as Apple to delist certain apps which were used by the people to conduct this kind of an activity. This article discusses what is the issue here, what is the problem, what can be a better solution. Is app banning always the only solution that is available for the government, etc., etc. Let me discuss now. At the center of all of this issue is battery management system. Battery management system. What is the idea of a battery management system? It is fundamentally, have a look at this, electronic control unit. What is this? We have imported, right, let's say the spare parts, we have imported, right, let's say the components of electric rickshaws from multiple countries, specifically or more importantly from China. We have taken these particular spare parts, put together. We mainly use lithium ion batteries, lithium ion battery, and we need to keep a watch, we need to simply keep a track regarding the health of this particular battery. It consists of multiple cells. how the cells are recharging, right? How the charge is going down. Are we able to use all the batteries efficiently, etc. Now, this particular work is conducted by electronic control unit, that is a battery management system. In simple terms, it is watching over the efficiency and the effectiveness of the batteries. Traditionally, what used to happen, if you want to keep a check on the health of the battery, etc., etc., the physical machines used to be fitted, that is wires from the machines used to be fitted into the vehicle and checked. But over a period of time, with the development of technology, what the vehicle manufacturers have been done or have been doing is they have installed Bluetooth technology into the BMS. Is it okay? They have installed the Bluetooth technology into the BMS. And because there is a Bluetooth, now you can simply connect to the BMS and check the status, how the battery packs are working, etc., etc. Whatever you want to do, you can basically test it or you can track the health of the battery using an app. Everybody is okay? You can basically check this using an app. This particular app, which was developed for good purposes, good intentions, that is the, let's say, a vehicle has to be taken to a, let's say, a shop for checking purposes. You did not have to physically dismantle that particular part of the battery. You don't have to open up, right, let's say the parts of the vehicle, etc. You can directly check using the app itself. With that intention, the BMS, which has been incorporated with the Bluetooth technology, is available in the market. But what has been done? Many people are using this particular app to basically get access to the BMS of a running vehicle and pause the BMS or stop the operations of the BMS, which will ensure that no electricity or no energy will be supplied to the engine. And if there is no supply of energy or the electricity to the engine, engine doesn't operate. Engine will basically stop and the vehicle will also stop in the mid of the road. This kind of activity has been conducted not only in India but in other parts of the world as well. And this was pretty much evident in other cases, but the concern is that this is unlike any kind of a cyber attack. Please understand this. This is unlike any kind of other kind of a cyber attack. In cyber attack, access to digital information is available. They will hack into your mobile, they will hack into your system, they will hack into your server. That kind of information is stolen. Whereas this kind of, right, let's say the cyber security threat is the cyber physical security. Please remember the technical term, cyber physical security threat. That is, they are not stealing any kind of information. They are creating a system where the vehicle is becoming immobilized. The vehicle is stopping in between the road, which can be a cause of concern, which can create a lot of issues. And moreover, right now, this kind of technology can be used when you are very nearer to the vehicle. When you are in the vicinity of the vehicle, somewhere in the distance of around 15 meters. What if better technology is made available where you are sitting in other part of India and you can basically create this kind of a cyber physical attack on other vehicles? So what has the government of India done? Citing national security, it has asked the Google as well as Apple company to delist these kind of apps which can be used to have a cyber physical attacks on e-rickshaws. Everybody is okay? Then everybody is able to understand. But now the question is it the right approach? Is this the only approach? The expert opinion is that rather than simply delisting the app, banning the app, this is not the solution always. What should have been done by the government? Government should have ensured that when the e-rickshaw manufacturers will import from, let's say, China, why checks and balances were not implemented? Why, let's say, the kind of a authentication system was not incorporated when the BMS was also installed? What do I mean by the authentication system? For example, let's say you have a Gmail. Now you will use one more system to log into your Gmail. Now be honest with me. How many of you have experienced a problem? Problem in the sense, it will ask for a two-step verification process. Right, the Gmail will basically tell you, please open your Android phone. There is a link which I have sent to you. Please use the link and get the code to enter, right, basically to ensure that you are the right person who is using the Gmail and this is not somebody else. And have you not seen the similar situation of two-factor authentication whenever you conduct, let's say, online transactions? So here the concern is why these kind of systems were not put in place, why cheaper imports were allowed to come into India, why the manufacturers were allowed to use these kind of BMS systems which can be tracked, hacked by anybody with the app which is freely available on the internet. So the government should have focused on these particular areas as well rather than simply banning the usage of app. Done? Right, so these are some of the very important points of discussion in the context of e-rickshaw battery hacks. Now, based on this, here is an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me the correct answer very quickly. What is the key answer? Please tell me quickly. Consider the following statements regarding battery management systems. It will store the electricity or the power that is used for operating the electric vehicles. Second, BMS will ensure battery cell balancing. Which of the two statements are correct? Do let me know. Anushka Singh says option B. Apeksha option B. Tanisha option B. Everybody has given the option B. Anybody else has an option A, option C, option D? Okay, finally one one different option. Tamil Selvam, option C. Let's start. It will store the electricity or the power that is used for operating electric vehicles. My dear, it doesn't store. It doesn't store. It simply monitors. Second one, BMS will ensure battery cell balancing. This statement is correct, by the way. Right, the second statement is correct. What is this idea of a battery cell balancing? Let's say in a battery pack, there are 5 cells. Each of the cell might have different efficiency, different charge. They might be from, right, let's say different years when they have been installed, etc., etc. So the problem is one of the battery might be, right, let's say losing the charge very fast, might be recharged very fast, and one more battery out of 5 is recharging very slow, losing the charge very slow, etc. So what might happen is we might overcharge all the batteries, which will have the impact on their efficiency. Right, so idea is this particular BMS will ensure all the batteries will have the same charge. That is, basically it will ensure that while charging, discharging, all the batteries are treated the same way. That is how it will ensure efficiency in the battery pack. So right option is option B. Let's move on to the next article. Questions surrounding the Quad's future. A lot of international relations related current affairs is taking place in recent times thanks to Mr. Donald Trump. One of the areas there is a lot of discussion is how USA is treating its partners, trade partners as well as partners in terms of defense, security, etc. For example, starting today, NATO meet is going to start. Right, at the same point of time, there is a discussion regarding is there a future for Quad, that is grouping of 4 countries. Is there a future for this particular grouping of 4 countries that includes India, USA, Japan, Australia? This particular idea of a Quad initially was introduced back in the year 2007, and after 2017 the meetings have become more regular. There are two levels of meets that happens under the Quad. One is leaders Quad meeting and the second one is foreign ministers meeting. But in recent times, there have been certain, let's say, policy decisions that have been taken by the administration of USA, which basically indicate that USA might not be so much focused on the idea of a Quad anymore. And if USA decides to walk away, if USA decides to cut its ties, then it will basically be spelling a big problem for this particular grouping of 4 countries. So what are the concerns? What are the criticisms? What are the important points? Let's focus on this. The Quad as a group of countries generally is focused on many important aspects. They keep on meeting, they keep on taking decisions, they keep on proposing funding patterns, etc., etc. So Quad as a grouping right now focuses on more than 30 important areas of cooperation. More than 30 important areas, by the way. And some of them are, for example, promoting discussion as well as policy making in terms of climate and clean energy, counter terrorism, maritime security to ensure Indo-Pacific is peaceful and partnership is promoted, critical and emerging tech, etc. But in recent times, USA, like I said, has taken two very important decisions. One, last year, it announced a new national security strategy. It announced a new national security strategy. And what was the importance of this particular strategy? In that particular policy announcement of the USA, it focused more on Western Hemisphere rather than focusing on Indo-Pacific. Historically, USA has been more focused on what is happening in Indo-Pacific region, precisely because of presence of China in the region. But now, according to the latest strategic policy or the national security policy of USA, they will be more focused on Western Hemisphere. That is the first very important change that was announced. And the second very important change is the kind of, let's say, the statements which are given by the president of USA, the kind of mutual, right, or let's say kind of one-sided, let's say the aspirations that the president of USA has to meet the president or let's say the leader of China, the way he greets the leader of China, the way he talks about leader of China, unlike the way he talks about other leaders in the world, etc. So there is a concern that USA might not be that serious in the context of, let's say, Indo-Pacific relations. Now, what are the criticisms? Why there might be a movement away from the Quad, etc. First one, there is a criticism against the Quad that it doesn't criticize China overtly. That is, explicitly, it doesn't criticize China. Right? If you are basically focused on security stability in Indo-Pacific, you know the kind of policies being followed by the administration in China. For example, yesterday they have conducted, right, a ballistic missile test. We'll discuss that later. But idea is the kind of policies which are being followed, the kind of, let's say, bullying policies that are being implemented by China, no way basically reflect the fact that they want a balanced growth and development in Indo-Pacific. They want to basically treat it as their own kingdom. They want to control everything. They do not want any kind of a security threat for their right interest, etc. So there is no specific, let's say, the mention of China in the policy making. There is no criticism regarding the policies which are being implemented by China within the Quad grouping. But having said so, the other side of the argument is that they do not want to restrict themselves as anti-China grouping. If you have a, let's say, a policy, if you overtly say that this particular grouping is done in order to contain the growth of China, then basically other smaller countries may not be interested in joining your grouping, because the concern is even if they want to join, let's say China will start targeting them. China will, right, start imposing certain restrictions in order to export certain products to these countries, etc. So this is one very important criticism against the Quad. Second, the Quad's reluctance to elevate the partnership to 2+2 format. What is this 2+2 format that I'm talking about here? Right now, like I said, the Quad meetings are done at two different levels. One is the leadership summit, where the heads of these countries will come together, have talks. Second one is the foreign ministers level. Foreign minister level. The recommendation is that in addition to having leadership summit or leadership meets and the foreign ministers meet, there should be also a discussion of all the defense ministers of Quad. There should be a defense minister meeting under the Quad itself. Right? So this is one criticism against the Quad grouping. Third one, the alleged overwhelming focus on non-security issues. Of course, this particular criticism, many experts argue, is not correct. Because like I said, There are more than 30 areas of cooperation that have been decided by the Quad group members. Out of 30 plus, more than 20 are related to security related issues. And finally, the Quad's security focus is not matched by the amount of funds. A lot of deliberations take place, a lot of discussion happens, but there has to be matching funding pattern as well. If you want to contain China's growth, if you want the stability, if you want to promote Indo-Pacific peace, etc., you will have to spend a lot of money. You will have to create a lot of infrastructure. You will have to create certain systems which will reduce the dependence on China. But for that, you need to spend a lot of money. Is the funding matching, right? Let's say the rhetoric within the group of countries within the Quad, that is a problem. Highest amount of funds have basically gone into other areas not related to national security, such as health, climate security, etc., etc. So these are some of the criticisms which have been leveled against the Quad grouping. So there is now a question: if USA finally decides to walk away, further reduce its focus on Indo-Pacific, what will be the future of Quad? Done? Right? So these are certain important points. Now, based on this, here is an MCQ. Please solve the MCQ and tell me the correct answer very quickly. The Quad was established through a legal binding treaty signed in 2007. It seeks to promote free, open, inclusive, rules-based Indo-Pacific. All the members of Quad are from Asia. What is the correct answer? Option A. Some of you who have given the answer, you have chosen option A. Quad was established through a legal binding treaty. Legally binding treaty. Is it a legally binding treaty? Absolutely no. Second, it seeks to promote free, open, inclusive, rules-based Indo-Pacific. Yes. All the members of Quad are from Asia. This should not be difficult. It is incorrect. For example, I said USA is part of Quad grouping. USA, I hope all of you know this, is not part of Asia. So, of the three statements, only one is correct. Right option is option A, only one. Let's move on to the next article. Modi begins three-nation. PM Modi is on three-nation trip now. There is already a lot of updates which are coming from Indonesia. Right? So, what are the important points to focus? Listen to me very carefully. This particular three-nation trip will include countries Indonesia, Australia and New Zealand. Indonesia, Australia and New Zealand. Anushka Singh says, Malaysia. My dear, please check it. He is not going to Malaysia. Indonesia. Indonesia, Australia and New Zealand. Three countries. Okay. Right. So, what is the importance of this particular trip? One, it will help Government of India consolidate and work more on its idea of Act East Asia policy. Act East Asia policy. It will also further the importance of Mahasagar initiative. But more importantly, in the context of Indonesia, there are four very important areas that you need to understand. First one, Indonesia is very rich in certain minerals, critical minerals. Indonesia has a lot of important minerals. We want to get certain access to these particular minerals. For example, Indonesia has 21% of global nickel reserves. The global nickel reserves, this is important. We need this. Second, it also is one of the major producers in terms of cobalt, bauxite, tin, etc. Done. So, one important area of discussion or negotiation will be the critical minerals. And this is important because we want to reduce import dependence from China. Second very important area is the defense. Second very important area is the defense. Already China is not happy with the kind of relations or the talks that India has had with Japan. Now India is extending its, let's say, relations with Indonesia. Will have MOUs, trade deals signed as well as the defense deals. For example, in terms of defense, Indonesia is one of the very few countries in ASEAN grouping which has already signed an agreement to get access to India's BrahMos missiles. BrahMos missiles. And according to the latest update, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you have received in the news app, there is one more agreement in terms of, right, let's say India giving one more battery cell, or let's say one more, right, let's say access to one more setup of BrahMos, right. So in terms of defense, very important, right, let's say agreement. Third very important area is in terms of trade. Third very important area is in terms of trade. Please understand, India has trade agreement with a group of countries which is known by ASEAN. Group of 10 countries, ASEAN. Trade agreements are there, multiple trade agreements are there for goods, services, which has come into force. In terms of the trading that is there between India and Indonesia, the total value of the trade for the previous financial year, I am rounding off the number, is somewhere around $25 billion. But this particular trade is in favor of Indonesia. That is, Indonesia has a trade surplus compared to India. So going forward, we might expect a certain talks, renegotiations regarding the trade agreement that is existing between India and the country here. This is the third important area. Fourth very important area is the heritage diplomacy. Heritage diplomacy. I am expecting a question in the next prelims on this area of heritage diplomacy. That is, the Prime Minister of India stated that he will be visiting one very important temple in Indonesia, Prambanan Temple. Prambanan Temple. He, along with the head of Indonesia, will be visiting this particular temple. Why? What is the reason? There is a term called as heritage diplomacy. That is, Government of India through Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, has been doing restoration work in multiple countries to restore certain important temples. And please understand, in this particular case, this temple, that is the Prambanan temple, it is a Shiva temple complex. It is recognized under UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a temple complex which is dedicated to Trimurti, that is the three gods, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. But it is mainly a Shiva temple. So Archaeological Survey of India will be doing the restoration work in this particular temple complex. That's the reason this is important. But having said so, this is not the first time that ASI is doing this kind of a restoration work. In many other countries, in many other temples, this kind of restoration work has already been done. For example, in Cambodia, this is one temple, Angkor Wat. In Wat Pho, UNESCO World Heritage Site, this kind of work has already been done. In Tiruketeshwaran Temple in Sri Lanka, similar work, restoration work is being done. Vietnam also, the work is done. This is called as heritage diplomacy, where ASI is entering into agreements, is doing the restoration work. This will basically create a soft power, help improve the relations between India and these particular countries. So these are the four very important areas that you must focus when the Prime Minister is visiting Indonesia now. Okay. Now, based on this, here is a MCQ. Please solve the question and tell me the answer very quickly. Consider the following statements regarding Prambanan Temple in the news. It is listed under UNESCO's World Heritage Site. This is the first restoration project to be undertaken by ASI outside India. The restoration work by ASI on this will be done using anistolysis. How many of the statements are correct? Quickly tell me, how many of the statements are correct? Tanisha option B, Apeksha option B, Arsha option A, Neha option B. Okay, most of you have chosen option B. Let's start. It is listed under UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Yes, that is true. This is the first restoration project to be undertaken by ASI outside India. This straightforward is incorrect. The restoration work done by ASI on this will be done using anistolysis. What is the meaning of the term anistolysis? It is a restoration technique where the original material is actually used for restoration. Please be very careful. Third statement is also correct. Right, so first and third are correct. Right option for the question will be option B. Only two of the above statements are correct. Next, the Tamil Nadu CM opposes amendment to the National Food Security Act. What is the importance of the article? Listen to me carefully. The Government of India back in the year 2013 introduced National Food Security Act. Under the National Food Security Act, earlier scheme called as Antyodaya Anna Yojana was covered. Antyodaya Anna Yojana is an old scheme or older scheme. It was brought under NFSA. The Antyodaya Anna Yojana basically identified poorest of the poor. Poorest of the poor. For example, somebody will say, sir, how do I identify who is the poorest of the poor? First and foremost, center doesn't identify the beneficiaries under NFSA, states do. It is a state's duty to identify the beneficiaries. So, based on the parameters that are given by the central government, for example, the families which are headed by widows, persons with disabilities, elderly persons without a regular source of income, etc. So there were guidelines which were given by the center to identify who should be the beneficiary. Beneficiaries have been identified. But the speciality of Antyodaya Anna Yojana is that the household which is identified under this initiative will be given 35 kgs of food grain per month. Is it okay? Will be given 35 kgs of free food grains under this initiative, whatever be the number of beneficiaries. The concern is that what if there is one household which has only 2 members or only 3 members? This household will get 35 kgs of free food grains. And on the other hand, under NFSA, there is another group of beneficiaries which is called as priority households. The priority households, in this case, per person, right now 5 kgs of free food grain is provided. So this is creating a discrimination. It is creating a difference amongst the beneficiaries themselves. To address this particular problem, now the government of India has proposed amending NFSA. It has proposed to amend section 3 subsection 1 of NFSA, and with this particular proposal, what is going to change is under Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Now, per beneficiary, the government will provide 5 kgs of free food grain per month. 7 kgs, not 5, 7 kgs of free food grain per month. So, idea is if the household has 2 people, then they will get 14 kgs. If the household has 3 people, they will get 21 kgs. And if the household has 6 people, they will not get 42. Maximum limit will remain 35 kgs for a household. Maximum is 35, but per person, I'll keep on distributing 7 kgs if you have Antyodaya card. This has been done in order to ensure that there is no disparity, there is no inequity that is created amongst the beneficiaries itself. But many states, including the state of Tamil Nadu, is opposed to this. Their argument is very simple. On one side, you say these are the poorest of the poor. Poorest of the poor essentially will require more assistance. That's it, more assistance. Second, in case of Tamil Nadu, the average household size of the beneficiaries covered under the scheme is 3.5 people. Average household size is 3.5 people. And if you reduce the entitlement to 7 kgs per person, so now a household which was receiving 35 kgs will end up receiving 24.5 kgs per month, because 3.5 into 7 kgs, basically will become 24.5 kgs. This will have an impact on food security of the household. So, citing these particular reason, the Tamil Nadu CM has requested the government of India to review the proposed amendment. Done? Everybody is okay? Next article, Mr. Jai Shankar is gearing up to lead India's campaign for non-permanent seat at UN Security Council. What is the discussion about? Listen to me carefully. Under the United Nations Security Council, there is a group of non-permanent members. And the membership for this, elections are conducted. Is it okay? To get the membership, elections are conducted. And not every member country is given one seat. No, not every member country is given a seat in the UNSC. It is generally based on regions. The 10 seats are divided based on regions. For example, we have regions such as the Western Europe, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Pacific region, Asia Pacific region, etc. So this kind of a distinction region wise is done, and the seats are allocated and elections are conducted. And for you to be elected into the non-permanent council here, for you to be elected, you need at least 2/3 of the present and voting members. At least 2/3 of present and voting members. And once you are elected into this particular group, you will have a membership for 2 years. Now, the discussion that is happening is for the next round of elections, which will be for the year 2028-2029. 2028-2029. Government of India has started discussing and basically conducting campaigns, that is basically keep on visiting member countries and ask for their support, ask them to vote in your favor, so that you will become elected as a part of as a part of United Nations Security Council, under that as a non-permanent member. India has been elected multiple times in the past. There are 8 instances where India has been elected as a member to the UNSC, and India now wants to be elected for the 9th time. There is one more country within the grouping of Asia Pacific now, that is Tajikistan. There is competition between India as well as Tajikistan. They also want to be elected into the grouping. And what is the importance? Understand what is the importance. If you are a member, of this particular Security Council, you will have representation during important deliberations. You can always raise the voice, raise certain issues at international forums, etc. That is a precise reason government wants to be re-elected, basically one more round into the United Nations Security Council. Then everybody is okay with the discussion here. Next important article, cooperative life insurance firms to be set up soon. What are the important points from the article? Listen to me carefully. The government of India 5 years ago set up Ministry of Cooperation. One of the latest ministries in India, that is under the government of India. So 5 years ago we set up Ministry of Cooperation. And the idea is that unlike earlier situation where cooperatives were generally not having a dedicated ministry, dedicated policy making was missing. Cooperatives in case of India are present at different levels. We have cooperatives in milk sector, in sugar, in clothing, in housing, in banking, etc. So we needed a dedicated ministry to focus on cooperatives. So the government of India 5 years ago set up the Ministry of Cooperation, and now it is celebrating a completion of 5 years. So as of now, reforms have been announced and implemented in different areas of cooperatives. For example, a university to promote cooperatives has been set up. The government of India has proposed a new authority to focus on urban cooperative banking structure. So a lot of reforms have been undertaken by government of India to promote cooperatives. And there is a need to do more, because according to the data that is given in the article, India has more than 8.5 lakh cooperatives. Please remember this. India has more than 8.5 lakh cooperatives, and the total number of members within the cooperatives is more than 30 crore. That is a precise reason, there is a need to focus and promote cooperatives in India. Done? Everybody is okay? So, a couple of more articles, small pointers now. White gut disease. White gut disease. This article is given in Delhi edition. I am pretty sure in other editions as well. In one page, but in a remote area, which I am pretty sure even if you read, a lot of you will miss it. Why? First and foremost, the shrimp farming is important. Shrimp farming is important. Why? India is one of the exporter, very good amount of exports are done in the form of seafood from India, and one of the important areas of exports is shrimp itself. And shrimp farming is not done in all the states in India. The state which is majorly important or major producer of the, let's say shrimp, is basically Andhra Pradesh. Please remember this, Andhra Pradesh. And in many of these particular shrimp farms, now there is a concern that there is a recurrence of white gut disease, WGD. WGD, right? It is basically caused because of multiple factors. For example, if the ponds are not very neatly maintained, if there are pathogens because of bacterial infections, etc. So this kind of a disease has been observed in many of the ponds, shrimp farming ponds in the state of Andhra Pradesh. That's a reason this is there in the newspaper. Please make a note of this. Question can be asked on the area of WGD, state which is a major producer, etc. Now, if you remember, I told you, I'll come back to this, don't worry. If you remember, I told you I'll give you one homework. And this is your homework for today, by the way. I have taken this article from Business Standard, yesterday's edition, Business Standard. This article talks about India's native black tiger shrimp, which has started trading more and more, or which has become a part of discussion now because the exports of this particular shrimp has picked up. Right, so there are multiple shrimp varieties or shrimp species. This is one native species. Please remember, this is one native species under the shrimp. We have Indian white shrimp, we have black tiger shrimp, we have Pacific white shrimp. Multiple species are there. Please read this particular article. Lot of data is there. Ignore the data, focus on important concepts. Now, solve the question and tell me what is the correct answer. Everybody, please solve the question and tell me. Black tiger shrimp is an India's indigenous commercially farmed shrimp. Shrimp farming is primarily regulated by Coastal Aquaculture Authority. Second statement is slightly niche. Third, Andhra Pradesh has the highest production of shrimp in India. And by the way, this is one more, right? Let's say question for you. Which is considered as shrimp capital? Which city is considered in India as shrimp capital? Do let me know. Those who are watching, do let me know in the comment section, and those who will watch the video later, let me know the answer in the comment section. Let's start. Black tiger shrimp is India's indigenous commercially farmed shrimp. Yes, that is correct. Shrimp farming is primarily regulated by the Coastal Aquaculture Authority. Yes, that is also correct. Third one, Andhra Pradesh has the highest production of shrimp in India. That is also true, by the way. Right, all the three are correct. Right option for the question will be option C. Let's move on to the next article. China has test-fired strategic missile in the Pacific which has raised regional concerns. Why this has become an international issue now? Why USA is also worried? Why many other countries in Asia Pacific region are worried about it? They have issued statements criticizing China. Russia has come in support of China. Why? Reason is simple. For the first time ever, they have conducted a strategic missile test using a submarine. Right? This is nuclear capable missile, by the way. For the first time ever, a nuclear has been used, right, to conduct this kind of a test. It's not that they have not conducted a test earlier, but the tests which were conducted by China earlier were basically fired on land. So for the first time, a nuclear missile test has been conducted using a submarine. That has raised alarm bells. That has raised a concern. US has criticized it. Many other countries have criticized it. And by all the accounts, because I hope you understand this is China you are talking about. There is no much transparency in terms of what kind of missile they have used. Is it JL1, JL2 or JL3? By all kinds of accounts, that is basically the newspapers, other media outlets, etc. It is JL3, right? The missile that they have tested is JL3. So point number one, why is this news important for you? China for the first time has used a submarine to conduct this kind of a test. Second important reason is there is an agreement associated with the test that has been conducted by China. Please remember this, Treaty of Rarotonga, right? Treaty of Rarotonga. Please remember this. Why? According to this particular Treaty of Rarotonga, which is in which China is a signatory, which has signed this particular treaty, the countries which are part of this, more than 10 countries are part of it, they are not allowed to conduct any kind of a nuclear weapon test. There is a region which has been identified, which is called as, or which is known as South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone. South Pacific Nuclear Free Zone. In this particular region, the countries are not allowed to conduct missile test, nuclear missile test. But China simply says, this is not a nuclear missile. There is no, right, let's say nuclear, right, let's say weapon here. It is a dummy. We are not conducting a nuclear test. Point number one. Point number two, China simply says, this particular test has been conducted by abiding to all the international laws. So this is the official statement that has been issued by the Chinese side. So China has ratified this particular protocol back in 1987, and it has pledged that it will not be conducting any kind of a nuclear test in the region. But the problem is, according to the sources, according to US estimate, China already has more than 600 nuclear warheads. It has more than 600 nuclear warheads, and it is estimated to increase this number to 1000 warheads by 2030. So this is a very important issue in the context of, right, let's say the defense or the kind of policies that the China is implementing to increase its footprint in Asia Pacific. Okay, next, just a factual information. BRICS nations call for stronger ties to curb drug trafficking. What is the importance, or what are the important points from the article? Point number one, this is basically the meeting of the member countries of the BRICS, which is a BRICS heads of anti-drug agencies. BRICS heads of anti-drug agencies. They are meeting at Guwahati, and during this particular meeting, important issues such as what reforms should be implemented, what measures should be undertaken to maintain or to contain the menace of drug trafficking in the global market. This is the second important point. And the third important point, if you do not know this, here is the information regarding who are the original members of BRICS and who are the countries, or which are the other countries which have joined BRICS very, very recently. So this group of countries, right, the heads of the groups of countries, that is basically the heads which are representing anti-drug agencies, are meeting for 2 days and deliberations will be conducted. Done. And finally, last article for today, just factual information. Ministry of Tribal Affairs. This is from PIB, by the way. Ministry of Tribal Affairs has organized a national workshop on what? Basically, the reforms that need to be implemented to strengthen tribal research institutes. That is not important for you. What is important is this particular paragraph. Go down, the last paragraph that is there in the form of a screenshot, that is important for you. The government, that is basically the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, has launched TribeX, right? It is launching a TribeX platform. It is first of a kind digital learning platform. It will collect all the data regarding the tribes in India. It will also promote research, right, research work in case of, right, promoting tribal cultures. It will have a repository of traditional knowledge, skill development, right. It will be focusing on procuring the information, storing the information associated with tribal art and culture. So this particular platform, which is first of a kind, focused on tribal art and culture, restoration work, research work, etc., has been announced by Ministry of the Tribal Affairs. Please make a note of this. Done. So these are the various important topics, concepts, as well as the questions I wanted to discuss with you people in today's session. If you have liked the session, do not forget to hit the like button. If you are yet to join the Unacademy IAS YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Thank you. Have a great day.